Hi, my name is Mike Wall. I've served on staff with FCA for the last 6 years. It's been a privilege to serve here in the West Georgia area. I get to serve Heard County Schools, Bowdon School System, and Central School System. I also get to work with Carrollton Golf. So I get the privilege of working with a lot of athletes and being on a lot of campuses. For a moment, I just want to share about a particular athlete. His name is Robert McNeal. He's the quarterback at Bowdon High School. On this particular night, Robert was competing and he went down in a hard tackle and had a shoulder injury.
First play coming out of halftime, we ran QB line, which is QB toss left. I ran to the left and a 300-pound guy jumped on top of me and I landed on my shoulder and I felt something pop. When I heard it pop, I knew it was something bad from there. And the trainer came on the field and he took me off the field. I went to the sideline, he checked it out.
It didn't take long to figure out that Robert had either an AC joint tear or some kind of AC joint displacement. But regardless of what it was, he was being told that night it looked like a minimum of 6 to 8 weeks of his season was going to be shortened.
It was like really devastating to me. My junior year is like a big year. I have a lot of colleges looking at me. They want to come watch me play and stuff. And he told me 6 to 8 weeks, which is more than half of the season. So I sat there and cried, like my heart was just drowned and I was devastated. After the game, I looked across the team huddles. They were meeting out in the middle of the field and I noticed Robert. Robert was kind of sitting over kind of by himself beside the team, had a sling around his shoulder with his arm held up and there were tears in his eyes. And in that moment, I just knew without a doubt, God was saying, Mike, go put your arm around that guy and you need to pray for him. I wish I could always tell you that I was obedient to God's voice, but there are times I'm not. But I felt that night, I felt it so strong that God was saying, you move now, you go now, and you get him and you pray for him because I'm about to do something special in his life. So I went. I was just obedient in that moment. And I tell our teenagers all the time that blessing always follows obedience. In that moment, God was reminding me that he was going to do a blessing because I was going to be obedient. I just needed to do it. So that moment I walked over and we got Robert and we brought him over. I introduced him to some of our group and Douglas Bell, who was the kicker for Bowdon High School. He was there with us and got a chance to join in. And we just put hands on Robert in that moment and we just prayed for him. And I knew in that moment that God had a plan for Robert McNeal.
I remember Mike calling Robert over and brings him over there and he looks defeated. He's got tears in his eyes and Mike asks if we can pray and lay hands on him. And Robert was kind of like, I don't know about that. He was unsure, but let us do it anyways. So we all laid hands on Robert and prayed for him. And at this time, I had been healed of a ligament tear. And I knew I had the same faith that God could use his power through Robert too.
I woke up and I had rotation in it, which I knew I wasn't supposed to have, what the trainer told me the night before. And we went to Southern Therapy and he checked it out. And I showed him a video where I can move it in full rotation. And he was shocked and he took like 3 x-rays just to make sure like, this is like unrealistic. And he made me do some rotations in it and stuff. And he looked at me and was like, man, this is a miracle. I've never in my 15 years of doing this seen healing like this before. And I looked at him, I told him what happened the night before Mr. Mike and them prayed over me, and that was the reason why I was healed.
So I remember walking out of second period in the gym and one of my classmates came up, told me and said, did you hear about Robert? And I said, no, what happened? And I just knew inside my heart, I knew that God had done something powerful. And he said, Robert is completely healed, he has full rotation. And I had chills all over my arms and I was going crazy and I left there jumping around, just amazed at God's power.
The next Sunday, Mr. Mike and them invited me to the church after I gave them the news about my shoulder being healed and stuff. And I went there, I went to this church and it was just totally different. I've been to church before, but I've never actually felt like so good about going. And I walked in there and everybody was hugging, It felt like home in that church. And I got the proof that I needed that Jesus is real, so it was just totally different going into a church again. As they're preaching and stuff, I'm starting to get tingles in my body and stuff like this, and like from then and to this day now, I know Jesus is real and he healed me.
I love the ministry of Fellowship of Christian Athletes, and I love what God is doing in our area here in West Georgia. And I've seen how God has blessed us over and over and over through our obedience to him. And maybe today He's inviting you to be part of that. And I'm going to challenge you. Would you be part of what we're doing here to reach athletes and coaches for Jesus Christ?